want to do that because it's just going to lead to stuff.
Valerie Fairman's episode of 16 and Pregnant revealed that she had a chaotic on and off relationship with her daughter, Nevaeh's father, Matt Price. But ever since Valerie tragically passed away in 2016, we've barely heard anything about her baby daddy. So what exactly has been going on with Matt since we last saw him on MTV? The truth about what he's been up to over the years and if he's involved in Nevaeh's life today is seriously bizarre. Right before Nevaeh was born, it honestly looked like Matt wasn't going to be in her life at all. He and Valerie were always arguing, and there was one topic that Matt just couldn't seem to let go. Matt had a difficult time believing that he was actually the father of Valerie's baby. But even though he eventually believed that he was Nevaeh's dad, he made a surprising decision before she entered the world. After spending months to dodge his up-and-coming parenting duties, Matt finally realized that he had to step up. He really needed to get a job that offered health insurance for Nevaeh, and he felt like he'd have better luck finding one 200 miles away. Matt promised Valerie that he would come back once a month so that he would still be in Nevaeh's life. But as most of us already know, Valerie wasn't exactly a present parent herself because of her substance use issues. So did Matt ever manage to visit Nevaeh? It turns out that Matt and Valerie ended up getting back together after their episode of 16 and Pregnant was filmed. They started dating again when Nevaeh was around a year old. Sadly, what happened a few months later wasn't very shocking at all. In the beginning of 2011, Nevaeh's parents called it quits again. But even though Matt still wanted to see his daughter whenever he was back in the area, Valerie wasn't in a healthy enough mindset to feel the same way. Soon she turned 18 and moved out, leaving her then 2-year-old daughter in the care of her parents, Janice and Gary. Although Matt and Valerie weren't on great terms after they split up for the last time, he was still very determined to be in Nevaeh's life. According to Radar Online, Janice had better communication with Matt a lot of the time than she did with Valerie. He had a somewhat regular routine with Nevaeh and would usually stop by to hang out with her one day a week, but their custody situation seemed so crazy. Because of Valerie's run-ins with the law and how unstable her life was, her parents had been the primary caregivers of her daughter. At some point when Nevaeh was super young, Valerie ended up losing custody of her. What that meant for Matt's custodial rights was really confusing. At the time, some reports claimed that Janice and Gary had full custody of Nevaeh and Matt only had visitation rights. But according to what his uncle David told the Ashley's Reality Roundup in 2015, Matt's involvement in his daughter's life was pretty unexpected. If you don't already know, David, Matt's uncle, actually dated Valerie in 2013 for close to a year, but they obviously didn't work out together, and a big reason why they broke up was because of her struggles with substance use. David revealed that Matt was a really great father to Nevaeh, and he shared custody of her with Janice and Gary. He also claimed that although Matt planned on trying to get full custody in the future, for some reason it wasn't the right time yet, but that wasn't all. Surprisingly, Matt also spoke to the Ashley's Reality Roundup and confirmed that David's claims were true. Neither of them had regular contact with Valerie anymore, but they explained that even when she wasn't behind bars, she still hadn't seen Nevaeh in quite a while. But Matt wasn't always able to keep his visits with his daughter consistent either. Not to mention what David had said about Matt having shared custody of Nevaeh with the Fairmans might not have been totally accurate. After Valerie's life suddenly ended due to consuming a mixture of several different illegal substances, Janice spoke to the press about her daughter's passing. What she told the Daily Mail about Matt and the then 7-year-old Nevaeh's relationship was unbelievable. Janice claimed that Matt had been doing his best to spend time with his daughter every Saturday. She also said that he had began struggling with some problems in his personal life. Unfortunately, that caused him to occasionally miss his visits with Nevaeh. Matt had basically been staying completely out of the spotlight after he last appeared on MTV. There really weren't any details available about what he might have been going through, but what Janice revealed about Matt 2 years later was seriously insane. The last time Janice publicly shared an update about Nevaeh was in 2018 when she spoke to Radar Online. She admitted that Matt was still working through his own issues, but he had managed to be available for visits with his daughter almost every Saturday. Janice and Matt were seemingly still communicating pretty well with each other, but despite the fact that he was in Nevaeh's life, he allegedly didn't have custodial rights. What Janice had to say about her granddaughter's custody situation was so bizarre. Janice said that she and Gary had full custody of Nevaeh, and she had been living with them all along. Whether or not Matt actually ever had custody of her, or if it changed at some point, it's still unclear, but that wasn't the only detail detail Janice explained that was unexpected. Even though Matt was showing up more consistently than in the past, he still wasn't always able to visit Nevaeh. Apparently, as she was getting older, her social life was becoming a little bit busier. That meant she had a lot going on between visiting with her dad and attending other weekend activities. Nevaeh was nearly 9 years old at the time, and she had been getting invited to a lot of her friends' birthday parties. Janice claimed that many of those parties happened to fall on Saturdays. Sometimes Nevaeh just didn't want to stay at home and wait for her dad to stop by and visit, so instead of making Nevaeh choose between going to a friend's birthday party or seeing her dad, Matt and Janice did their best to rearrange visits so that she wouldn't miss out. And now, over 5 years later, Nevaeh is most likely busier than ever. Matt is now the father of a teenager, Nevaeh recently turned 14 years old, and I have a feeling that a lot of the visits with her dad end up being rescheduled. But whenever Matt spends time with her, he still doesn't document their visits online like many parents do. Janice and Matt have both continued to keep Nevaeh's life out of the public eye. If either of them have social media accounts, they're probably set to private. There have literally not been any details released about their lives or Nevaeh since Janice's final update in 2018. It's unknown if Matt ever ended up following through with his reported plan to try to get full custody of Nevaeh, but considering she had been raised by Janice and Gary for almost her entire childhood, it would probably do more harm than good to change things now. If Janice does still have full custody of Nevaeh, that could be a major reason why we never see any updates from Matt about his daughter. Janice previously told the Daily Mail that she believed Valerie would still be alive if she had never been on national TV. After Valerie's brief experience in the spotlight, Janice claimed that it went to her head. She went so far as to blame MTV for her daughter's tragic passing. It makes sense why Janice didn't want Nevaeh's childhood or personal details to be online for the public to see, and it's definitely understandable that Matt seems to want privacy for his life as well. But at the same time, it's hard not to be curious about what's going on with him. It's been over 13 years since we saw Matt on 16 and Pregnant, and I'm sure a lot has changed. But hopefully, his life is going in a healthy, happy direction, and he's still able to be a present dad for Nevaeh. Anyway, now that we've talked about Matt's role in his daughter's life and what he's been up to over the years, I want to know what you guys think. Considering how he acted on 16 and Pregnant, are you surprised that he ended up having any involvement in Nevaeh's life? What do you think about Matt and Janice being able to successfully communicate and co-parent to an extent? Let me know in the comments below.